their ashes and their DNA are going to join together and be launched out. Humanity is going where no one has gone before.
That's the son of the creator of Star Trek. Indeed, pulling from that program's signature title sequence to boldly go where no one has gone before, ahead of a rocket launch to send the remains of dozens upon dozens of dead people into outer space. Now, you may have heard about this rocket launch recently. On Monday, as part of the first ever launch from the United Launch Alliance, a rocket called Vulcan, the same name as the planet that Star Trek's Spock is said to be from, took off from Cape Canaveral, Florida.
5, 4, 3, we have ignition. And liftoff of the first United Launch Alliance Vulcan rocket, launching a new era in spaceflight to the moon and beyond.
And that moon and beyond thing is kind of important because Vulcan carried a few different payloads. A lunar lander called Peregrine destined for the moon, which we'll get back to in a moment, and 2 containers filled with small capsules of human remains. Inside those capsules, some of the ashes of Gene and Roddenberry, the creator of Star Trek, and his wife, who played several roles across the franchise.
This is almost full circle in my mind. You know, my father created this show talking about going where no one has gone before, about a crew, about people, about humanity getting out into space and exploring. Well, again, even though it is somewhat on a symbolic level because it is his remains, he and the First Lady of Star Trek, along with a number of the other cast members from Star Trek, along with countless other prominent and wonderful people.
And these weren't the only noteworthy voyagers bound for the vast emptiness of our universe either. This flight included ashes from other Star Trek actors, like James Doohan, aka Mr. Scott, DeForest Kelley, aka Dr. McCoy, and Nichelle Nichols, aka Lieutenant Uhura. The remains of dozens of others were included too, plus 3 strands of this. Ow. Famous hair. Well, this hair isn't famous, it's just some random YouTube guy's hair. But the 3 strands of famous hair that went up on this rocket once belonged to President Dwight D. Eisenhower, famous, President John F. Kennedy, very famous, and President George Washington, dollar bill famous. Not that I would know, I only carry big bills. Now, the people blasting 3 hair follicles plus an entire payload of dead people's ashes and DNA are the good people of Celestis, a spaceflight memorial company which has built a business around, well, sending your final remains into space. In case you thought it was tough picking out a coffin, they've got multiple spaceflight experiences available at different levels starting at about $3,000. The Earthrise mission sends your soot up in a weightless environment for about 10 minutes before it returns to Earth as flown keepsakes. For $5,000, the Earth Orbit Service places ashes into orbit until it re-enters the atmosphere and vaporizes. $13,000 gets you to the moon on a commercial rocket, or for that same low price, you can be launched out into deep space. Here's a handy comparison chart, and as noted on the company's website, this whole procedure is environmentally benign, compliant with international law, and surprisingly affordable. Hence, more Trek types, who gathered in Florida for the rocket's overnight launch in honor of their loved ones, whose remains were also on board the Enterprise. This appropriately named Star Trek flight.
Everyone on board has an interest or a connection to space, but that can begin at, I watched Star Trek my entire life.
That's the CEO of Celestis, who notes it's not just the remains of famous people or presidential hair strands going up into space. It can be anyone.
It can be, I was an astronaut and I want to go back. It can be, I'm an aerospace professional and this is the right thing for me. But we also have children, truck drivers, restaurant owners. We have people from over 25 countries on this mission.
Everything about this was like, this is something I need to do for my mom.
This woman attended the event in honor of her mother, whose remains were aboard the craft.
But I'm also here because I'm a really big fan. And I can't wait to meet everybody and also all of the other people that I'm meeting here today and listening to the stories of the other people, the other incredible people who were on board this ship. I can't think of a better way to honor my mother.
Now, not everyone is excited about the idea of sending cremated remains to the moon. The president of Navajo Nation objected to this rocket launch, saying in a statement that the placement of human remains on the moon is a profound desecration of this celestial body revered by our people. And while the launch went ahead anyway, it's not guaranteed everything from this mission will end up reaching the moon. That Peregrine lunar lander had to abandon its mission upon reaching space after suffering a fuel leak. Let's at least hope they've got a guarantee like they've got for those memorial space flights. Celestis actually offers a performance guarantee, saying that in their contract, they'll offer a complimentary second mission should the first mission attempt fail to achieve success. After all, for people like this woman, whose late husband's remains were part of the spaceflight, who knows what's waiting out there?
We're going to be on the forefront of extraterrestrial life out there. I don't have any children, but if I can have one out there, I'm out there.